there. Game on, you happy people. Stone, I don't know what's going on with you, man. Your video is always jacked up. I'm gonna fix that real quick. It's fine. We got you nice and clear. But for whatever reason, your video in our box was I didn't see this until just now. But it was like tiny compared to where we should have you. But you're fixed now. You're here.
Don't minimize me.
It's for your horrible takes on names last week that I had to condense you down a little bit. Take you back down to size. How's your week going, Stoner?
It's going very well. You might notice that I have new and improved internet. I took care of the issue from last week and a couple other times as well. I should have no problem with internet. If I do, I'm going to have to turn around and blame you because I've got the fastest internet in the country right now. I think.
Yeah, we got 3 digits coming in and out for the Stoner.
3 digits.
So I was so distracted by this. We didn't even get to do our opening. We just started with the banter. But this is episode 11 of Ref the District, your official DC sports, cast. Brought to you by, I'm Nathan Perry. Of course, he's the Stoner. And today we got a pretty good show for you. I think, we're going to be talking about the Nats opening week, the stuff that's happening with Washington football team, including an article that's just preposterous. That should be quite fun. And then we got GBU happening later on, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Stone says he's been holding on to an ugly for a couple weeks. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get grilled on the ugly. This is directed directly at you, so be ready for that later on.
Which freezing cold take will we hear about at the end of this stream? It'll be fun.
It's your freezing.
I know. I said which one of my freezing cold takes we'll hear. If I had to take a guess right now, even though he didn't play last night, it's probably Bertans. That'd be my guess. We'll see.
No, I'll say it's not. I'll say it is not sports related. Well, actually, it does have a little bit of a sports touch to it, but it's not directly. So there you go. Good tease.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and hop into it. We'll get to the good, the bad, the ugly in a little while. I want to talk about the Nats in their opening week. Not exactly the best start. 1-4. Had won the opening game, started 1-0, lost the last 4. Some of these games not even looking good during this.
Yeah.
What do you make of this?
Well, obviously, just the start to the season, not necessarily on the field, but everything that happened off the field with all of the positive tests, the contact tracing, it just started as a disaster. You had guys getting quarantined, isolated. You had guys coming up from the minors, adjustments to 40-man. I mean, it was I don't know how Mike Rizzo, the Nats GM, was getting any sleep because he's trying to figure out the rules, exceptions to rules, who's going to be available, when they're going to be available. And so the first few games had a mishmash, if that's the right word, of players from their major league roster who they expected to be there, and a bunch of guys who had absolutely no business being on the major league roster, but they had to go with it. Exciting first game, walk-off from Juan Soto, and you thought, well, great. None of this even matters because we just got a walk-off. Everything's beautiful. And now you see the last few games that got swept in a doubleheader. They went 2 straight games without scoring any runs because, again, you have a bunch of guys who should not even be playing. And now they're starting to get guys back, but guys' routines are messed up. I mean, it's just a brutal start to the year.
Gordon's pitching last night, not great. Not great.
You walked the bases loaded at one point and gives up a 3-run, but he was not good. And even he said after the game, I'm not in my normal routine right now because he was one of the guys who was on the contact list, so he had to be isolated. He couldn't do his between start. You know how those pitchers have those routines. So
it'll be interesting. I'm not too concerned about the play right now because everything is just so wonky. I'm not ready to be like this team isn't that good. But I know there are people out there who think that the World Series run that the Nationals had was a fluke and they got lucky. And last year when
Mm.
they weren't good is really, and now this opening is really who the team is. I mean, and even if you look at the World Series run, we've brought this up before. They were horrible at the beginning of the season, and then they went on a tear. The reason why I wouldn't consider it
Yeah.
lucky is because you don't get lucky for 4 or 5 months in a row of the play that they were
Right.
doing. Um, so, I don't think that this is really cause for concern because of all the things that are happening. I think it will
Hmm.
be interesting once they get the full lineup. But the bats really, the people who you expect to hit aren't hitting. You got Trey Turner with a couple bombs to open up the season. Soto, of course, the walk off. He had his first home run yesterday.
First
First
two
two
home
home
runs.
runs, yes,
Yeah, he had
yesterday.
two.
So those guys, those are hitting, but even then, like your 1 through 5 aren't doing as well. And then you've got just some, as we call them, jags, right? Just another guy. These are people who were
Right.
not supposed to be on the team. These people were kicked to AAA, and having to be called up. They managed to hold the game together that first game for the victory, but since then that's where we're coming into these things where they're not scoring. So I think it'll be nice to get some actual major league players back. Injuries are going to happen throughout the season. Who knows if this strikes again and they have to change things up. I don't expect Corbin's bad play last week to extend through the season. Strasburg pitched pretty dang on well.
He pitched great.
And
Yeah.
they still lost that game. Scherzer had a rough start, but
And then
and then
locked
locked
in.
in. Like absolutely, let's
Yeah.
3 bombs back to back to back go, and then just absolutely stellar pretty much the rest of the way through his outing. So I think things are going to start kind of working, and you'll see the team get back to 500 hopefully here within the next 2-3 weeks. I think it will take some time. Like I said, those
Hmm.
routines are things that they have to find find that rhythm. But as
So these are guys we're expecting to perform for us, and we haven't had them yet. That's why our offense is sputtering. So that's the glass half full. Once those guys get back, they'll start going on a roll. We'll see. Glass half empty is you can't you can't have these bad starts in the National League East. You've got too many good teams. The Mets are a good team, although the Mets are gonna Mets, right? The Braves are a good team. They had a bad start, but they've been fine since. The Phillies are a good team, and even the Marlins are a good team. So you can't do a 19-31 like they did 2 years ago when they won the World Series and they fell way behind and just stormed back. You can't do that
no.
this year. These
I,
teams
I
are
don't think
too
you can
good.
really afford to do that any year. Like you don't want that to be the plan, right? You mentioned how the
Yeah.
Mets are going to Mets. So
Right.
little side story here. I got myself in trouble over
Uh-oh.
Easter. We were doing
Uh-oh.
a socially distanced neighbor thing with the kiddos, the little Easter egg hunt for the kids, and there was a grandma there who happens to be from New York, and she's a Mets fan. And so we are talking about the Nationals and my love for the Nationals, and then we just baseball in general. And I mentioned the 2 teams I hate pretty much the most are the Mets, and she was just like,
Hmm.
ugh. And then she's from
Uh,
Brooklyn, so she was a Brooklyn Dodger fan when they were still
yeah.
still in town. And so then when I mentioned that the fact that the Dodgers are my other team that I just dislike to my core, she was just like, "You're
Yeah.
not invited next year." So I have to figure
Good.
out
Good.
my Easter plans for next year because I'm not welcome down the street. So
That's good. You shouldn't be hanging out with the enemy anyway. Yeah, the heck with her. You don't need her in your life. Push her aside. But yeah, so I think the Nats are. I think they're going to be okay. They have the talent. 2 years ago was not a fluke. Anybody who says it was a fluke is crazy. They've been. It's not like they came out of nowhere and had this magical season. They've been a good team
yeah.
for years and years and years. Just hadn't been able to get over that hump. And in 2019, they got over the hump. So all those who say it's a fluke, you don't know what you're talking about. You're looking at it from the outside. You're
All they
wrong.
needed in 2019 was for Bryce Harper to go to Philadelphia and say that he wants to bring a title to DC. thank you,
Yeah.
Bryce, again for that wonderful moment.
And thank you for leaving too. I didn't like Bryce.
He's a good player. He's a good player.
Oh, he's very good. I just didn't like him. I was not a Bryce guy right from the beginning. I thought he thinks he's bigger than the game. Whatever. I just don't like him. I'm happy he's gone.
You discovered Soto, right? So
I
you're good. You're good with
Soto.
him. Trey Turner,
Correct.
you're
I
okay
love
with
him.
as well.
Love Trey
Okay,
Turner.
just making
absolutely.
sure our other young guys. I don't know if you're one of these like traditionalists that you're ruining the game type stuff.
No, not at all. He wasn't he was a hustle guy when he first came up, and then as he started to get to be a better player, he was the guy who wouldn't run it out to first base, and that's I'm not like an old school guy that's like you have to hustle every single play, but what I think that does, it's a mindset. It's a mindset that I don't have to hustle. Okay, so if you don't hustle, what else do you not have to do to help?
Are you
this
choking
team?
them out in the dugout for that kind of activity?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with what Papelbon was confronting him about. He might have gone about it the wrong way. That was not good.
You think?
But yeah, he was confronting him for not running out an out or a grounder or whatever it was. And that's what leaders do. They call out guys who are not pulling their weight, not necessarily in their abilities, but in the things that you can't necessarily see on paper. What are you doing to help this team? And if you're not doing it, I'm going to call you out. So I was okay with him calling him out. I wasn't okay with him trying to choke him.
I think then we're going to correct your statement then to say that's what leaders should do is call somebody out. I wouldn't necessarily go as far as call Papelbon a leader because I don't think leaders leaders choke out their teammates. I'm pretty sure that's not on the to-do list for a leader, but I could be wrong. You never know.
Maybe there's some guys that deserve it, but maybe not.
Occasionally, you have to smack somebody upside the back of the head. That's right. But choking is, I think there's a gap there between that and choking somebody out. But we'll see. Right. I think even in a court of law, I think there might be a big difference there.
So do you think in looking at the big picture, you think they're going to be fine?
Yes, I think that I do think they'll fight their way back to 500. I don't think it's going to take that long. I think within a month we'll see them back at 500, and I think that's to me is generous amount of time because you should start seeing the people coming back. You should start seeing that rotation firm up. So I think within a month, I wouldn't be surprised if here in the next 2 series that they storm back and get to 500. I think that would be incredible if they did it, but I think it's gonna. I think we'll instead of a month time frame, how's 8 series sound? Give them 8 series. Do you think that's fair?
So that's probably 24-ish games. So about a month, month and a half.
That's what I'm saying.
Give them a month and a half.
Yeah, eight series, and I think that they're back at 500.
Yeah. Oops, sorry. I just coughed right into the mic, right into your ear, right in there. Sorry about that.
You are a trained broadcaster, my friend.
I know. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. I agree. I don't think that they're in major trouble, but they just got to get everybody back, get everybody healthy. And a couple of things I learned this week that I hadn't realized for this season with the rules is I didn't realize Major League Baseball had adopted the runner on second for start of extra innings for each team that they tried last year, and I guess they liked it, so they're going to do that. And I'm still not sure about the 7-inning doubleheaders. Now, I know the Nats had 7-inning doubleheaders, but they made it sound like this was a special purpose because of
the situation.
All of the games are getting backed up and all that. So I'm not sure they're still doing that.
For the record,
for every
I hate it.
7-inning doubleheaders.
Absolutely hate it
because they're not real.
It doesn't feel like a real game. It doesn't. It just. I didn't get to watch the first one. And so I go and I'm checking the time. I'm kind of doing some stuff with the family, and then I go to pull up the game and I see final at 7, and I'm like, what is this monstrosity?
Yeah.
And then the second game comes and it's another 7 inning outing, and I'm just like, that is wrong. It almost feels as wrong as the 17 game NFL season. I was watching a clip just yesterday of Acho, listing out the teams. He lists Washington football team first, and then they started discussing like how the teams would finish, and you hear, instead of 11-5, you hear 11-6. You hear 10-7, and like it's just like, ooh,
it doesn't sound right.
That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, but so now you're making it sound like you're one of those traditionalists or whatever that can't. You can't change.
I'm good with changes. I actually think some changes are good. It's just my brain does not, it does not compute with that. The 7-inning thing, understandable when games are being rained out. I understand, like you said, some of it's the compression thing. I just don't want it to become the norm. It should never be double headers. Like they've been doing double headers with 9 innings for years.
Forever.
So what really would be the reason? I can understand, again, the compression, fine. This season, fine. But let's not keep that one. I'm okay with the runner on second to start the double. I don't want to see my 4th or 5th outfield option being my pitcher in like the 15th inning. I think those games can be kind of exciting. But no, I really don't want to have to sit there and pull through the entire bullpen, and then you have Soto all of a sudden as our pitcher, and I'm like, no, I don't want that.
Yeah, well, they have adopted a lot of these rules because they're concerned about the length of games, so they're trying to shorten the games.
They need a way to keep the games moving, because games can get ridiculously long. I know they've done a lot of things to speed up the pitching. You can't sit there and take forever on the mound. So some of these changes end up being years from now, we're going to forget that was even a thing, right? So it's I'm good with those changes. Just like I think that eventually I'll get used to that change in the NFL for that extra game. It's just going to take some time. And the NFL had a great thing going for it. 32 teams, 16 per conference. You have 8 teams that make the playoffs. You have 16 games. It was just all worked out. The numbers broke down nice and neat. Nice.
Right. See, that to me says it's something with your, you have a what's the
obsessive compulsive,
not a disease. Yeah, you have some sort of obsessive compulsive disorder.
I was being called out yesterday for that by a bunch of 8 and 10-year-olds as I brought out the croquet set, and I demanded that everybody have the matching color mallet to their matching color ball. I was just like, no.
Yeah.
And you will not share.
Green has to go.
Yeah, you will not share. You will not hit somebody else's ball. The mallets must only touch the color which they correspond to. I can be a little bit obsessive about certain things. So we'll see. I happen to be quite obsessive with our Washington football team and very interested in who they're going to take for QB. There's been a lot of talk lately about moving up to get Trey Lance.
Yeah. I got a problem with that. Well, let me just say that. Let me give my piece, and then you can give your piece on this. But here's the problem that I have with it. I can see both ways. So if this team absolutely loves Trey Lance, and that seems to be where the draft is going to start falling, and they feel it's necessary, maybe he falls to 12 or 13, and then they decide now's the time to move up to get him, and they have to give up a first rounder next year or whatever they have to do to get him. And if everybody's on board, if Ron Rivera says, I love him, if the Martys say, I love him, if everybody in the organization says, we love Trey Lance, so we're going to go get him, I'm okay with that. But what I don't want to hear is 2 months from now, I don't want to hear whispers coming out that Ron Rivera loves Trey Lance, but one of the Martys is a little, no, I don't think this is the guy, but he's the coach, and I'm going to...
You want them all to be locked.
I don't want any
You don't want them to be like, well, we didn't really like him, but Dan came off his yacht and was just like, you're going to take this guy.
We don't want that. We don't want what happened in whatever year that 2011 with RG3,
Would have been
where
2012, yeah.
again, I was in favor of drafting RG3, giving up all those picks, moving up to get the guy who everybody thought was going to be a great player. Everybody seemed to
If
be
he
on
wasn't
board.
injured, I
But
think
wait a
that
minute,
he would have been a good
maybe,
3 to 5 year player.
yeah, maybe. But Mike Shanahan, who's in charge of the draft and personnel, let me just draft another quarterback in the 4th round because I'm not 100% sold on this whole RG3 thing. But I've been told he's our guy and we're going to have to draft. I don't want anything like that. If everybody's on board, do whatever it takes to get him. If there's dissension, you can't do it. You can't give up draft capital, future picks for a guy that not everybody. What if the offensive coordinator says, I just don't, he just doesn't fit our system? But Ron Rivera is like, well, then make a new system to fit his skills. It just doesn't work. It's never worked. It never will work. Stop doing that.
So there's some interesting things within this, right? So it's just like I want to know at what point is that dissension? Like who you mentioned the Martys, okay? So you want your GMs online, you want your head coach, you want your offensive coordinator. Who else is on that list? We got 4 already. Who else is on this list of you need to be all lockstep? Do you care if the defensive coordinator has an opinion on this? No. Okay. Do you care if Dan Snyder is just like, I like this guy or I don't like this guy? No.
Well, of course not.
Quarterbacks coach, does he get a... Okay, that's
coach,
another person
absolutely.
who gets an opinion. Okay.
I don't even know who that is.
I just need to know, like, where is this line? Who eventually it's just like, well, I don't really think it's worth it to go for Trey Lance, that you're like, stop talking. You don't have an opinion here.
Right. Well, yeah, there is definitely a line. I don't know what that line is because I don't know.
You don't know their structure.
Well, there's 100 assistants, right? There's 100 assistants and people in the personnel
passing
line.
Game coordinator.
Kinds of
passing game coordinator gets an opinion or no?
Oh, absolutely, he gets an opinion.
So the passing game coordinator just goes, I don't think we should go for Trey Lance, and you call the whole thing off. You have both Martys, the head coach, and Scott Turner all saying, I want this guy, and the passing coordinator's just like, and you're like, no, can't do it. That's that. You're going to call that your line? No, I think those 4 people are fine. In fact, actually, I don't think you need both GMs to be on board for it. I think if one GM, the head coach and the offensive coordinator are like, yes, this is my guy, and the other Marty's just kind of like, guys, I think that, actually what we can do is trade back and then maybe get some guy in the 2nd or 3rd, that you're going to be like, you know what? All right, we're going to call it off. So, because you're saying you said that it's just like you have to have absolute love. I'm not saying that both. I'm not like, if one of the Martys is absolutely like, this guy's trash, fine. Then I think you can call it off, or you guys can have some serious conversation about it. But if one Marty's just like, I don't think this is the best route, I think we could do something else, you're going to call it off for that?
Yes. Oh, 100%. So why do you have 2 GMs then? If you're only going to listen to one? You have 2 GMs.
This is why you have that committee getting together, all those voices. If you have 3 people, we live in a democracy, right? You have 3 people here who, technically not a democracy, I know. So don't at me in the comments. We'll take care of it, right? So you have 3 people who say yes, and 1 person who says no, and you're like, okay, that person who says no, they get the overall vote. We're not going to go for this. I don't think you need a unanimous to like a love. Right? I think that's probably too much. But if a guy's just like, okay, we could go this Trey Lance route, or we can do this other thing, and I think we should do the other thing, you don't automatically call this off. Not when 3 people love it. If you have 2 people who are like, I think there might be better options, that's fine. You call it off then, right? Because I do think you need to love this guy overwhelmingly so. And I think 3 to 1 is overwhelmingly so.
No. I'm going to say something I haven't said yet, but I think I'm going to say many times. Nathan, you're wrong. You have to have 100% full-on love for that player if you are going to make a move to go get this player at the quarterback position. It's different when it's other positions, whether you're fighting over an offensive tackle or a
I don't think you
linebacker for that
move
pick.
up for those, right? You only move up for a QB.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So when it comes to your pick, you can have dissension when you're trying to figure out an offensive tackle or a linebacker. But it has to be 100% everybody in agreement. We love this guy. If we are going to give away future picks to move up to get this quarterback, that I I believe that with all my heart because we've seen it in the past, especially with this team, that if you have dissension within the ranks on whether or not you should select this guy, it won't work. It hasn't worked. That doesn't mean it can't work, but that's just the way I think they should approach this going forward. And then another thing to look at is we're going to talk about this later, our mock draft. If he slides to you all the way at 19,
I don't think that happens. I don't really see a realistic situation where that
but
happens.
let's just say he does. Let's just say he slides to 19. I also don't believe you should select him just because he slid to you and he's a good value pick. I don't believe in value picks. I believe in getting your guy. And if he slides to you, oh, well, looky here. We got a guy that we weren't planning on taking. We've built this team in a certain way, and now he slid to us, and now we've got to change all our plans simply because of this guy slid. I don't think that's a good idea.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. You look at the situation a couple of years ago. Dwayne Haskins falls to the 15th pick, and they take him, and it didn't work out. So if you don't think that he's the guy, fine. In fact, we actually have Jazzy in our comments. I hate to say it, but I agree with Stoner. You have to have unison agreement. So
yes,
I've been betrayed in my own home.
Finally, woo! That's a win right there.
In case you didn't know, Ref the District live every Sunday from 10 a.m. If you happen to be catching the recording, you can join us live and get in on the live comments as well. I will occasionally read them off, even if they break my heart. Looks like we're not getting a truck today, Stoner. Looks like we're not getting a truck today.
Huh? Looks like you're just staying home.
I did want to talk a little bit about, as we're nearing the draft, we got, people with their mock drafts are getting crazy. You're starting to see a lot more trades happening in those mock drafts. You're also starting to get a lot more of those smoke screens. Do you think that this might just be a smoke screen? Because this is kind of coming out in conjunction with the fact that the Falcons are floating around the idea that they're open to trading that 4th pick. So do you think that this is more just kind of trying to build up that trade value for the Falcons? Do you think this is just letting, there's some people who still think that, the 49ers are set to take Mac Jones with the 3rd pick when, a lot of people are saying Lance or Fields are better players. And so you're starting to see that smoke screen. Well, they showed up to his pro day. They're not showing up to Fields. They're doing all this other stuff. Where's the truth? Where's the lies? And do you think that this might be one of those things that somebody's floated it out there because they're trying to throw people off the scent?
Yeah, that very well could be the case. We have no idea who's telling the truth and who's lying. Even they don't even know. Those people who are on the inside that are making the decisions, they don't know what's the truth and what are smoke screens. But there was the one report by Michael Lombardi. Is that his name? He's like an NFL insider.
Really only knows a couple teams very well, but
Washington's one of them.
No, I don't think so.
Well,
I disagree with that.
He knows. I mean, you may disagree with what he has to say, but he is in tight with a lot of people in the organization. So he made the statement that not only does Washington like Trey Lance, they love Trey Lance, and they're going to move up to get him. And he says, I know they love Trey Lance. So that means somebody told him. Somebody within the organization told him directly that they love Trey Lance. So, again, but that could be a smokescreen. That could be just a plant, just to give him something so that he puts it out there. So maybe somebody moves up with them at 19 even to get Trey Lance, and then they acquire a couple extra picks. Who knows? Everybody's just.
I really enjoy the draft because it's kind of like football's, the NFL's own March Madness. Like, just sometimes the
Mm.
craziest things happen, and really
Yeah.
this trade, this scenario with Washington trading up for Lance won't play out until draft day and the draft night.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because you don't know what the 49ers are going to do. You don't want to trade up right now for the Falcons' fourth pick. If all of a sudden Trey Lance is gone, and then you're going to you got to take Pitts in that case. I think. I don't think if you don't that one, I definitely don't think that there are four Fields or there. Please, no one waste any draft picks moving up for Mac Jones. I,
I
I
don't think
think
so either.
I don't know. I probably too harsh on the guy. He had a
Yeah.
great year and compared, had a great year compared to Burrow. To me, it's just an eye test thing, and it's not about his like. I know we have similar builds, Mac Jones and I, but it's not even about that because look how scrawny Tom Brady looked when he entered the league. I think I just
Right.
don't think that spending picks to get Mac Jones is the right idea, and I would hate for Washington to do that as well. Now, I wouldn't even pick him if he fell to the 19th, but that's another matter. You mentioned that you don't even take Trey Lance at 19 if he falls to you.
Mm-mm.
That's based off of you just don't think you don't. Is that you don't like him, or is that you're saying that they have to be lockstep that they like this guy?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. I definitely I don't like what I've seen from him, but I mean, who am I? What do I know about quarterback play? I'm just a big dummy sitting here watching from the outside. But that's my opinion. I don't think he's an NFL type quarterback, at least not right away. And again, like I said, I want everyone to be in lockstep when they decide to take whoever they're going to take, especially if it's a quarterback at 19. Even if he slides all the way to 19, don't take him unless that was your plan all along.
So we talked long about them. They need a QB this year. We don't think
Yep.
Fitz. We don't think Heineke. We don't think Allen are the answer. Are you okay with not moving up if that's not your guy, not taking him at 19? You're looking at those mid-round players. You're good with that? Is that where you're at with this? Is a second or third round, maybe fourth round? Try your luck, get another Cousins who, obviously he's the greatest NFL quarterback the Washington football team's had in the last decade.
Yeah. Uh, no, I don't think that they need to draft a quarterback, whatever round that is, again, unless they're in love with him.
Do you have to be in love with
So,
a fourth round pick or a third round pick?
well, then why are you wasting draft capital on him
I
if you
think
don't
that's
love him?
because you think that there's potential there. I don't think I think you have to I think you have to love a player if you're moving up for them. Which this is an interesting thing here. Starting to see this floated around a lot more. There's a big difference between somebody who's picked in the first round and somebody who's not picked in the first round. Do you know what that difference is?
Mm. What do you mean?
If someone's taken in
In regards to what?
there's a contractual difference. Maybe this just sells it too much here.
Oh,
There's
okay.
a big difference between somebody who's picked in that first round and somebody who's not. It's a 5-year contract, that fifth year option that the
Yeah,
team has.
that the
That the
first
first
rounders
rounders
get
get.
that the others don't.
There's a
Yeah,
lot more
sure.
people now who are saying that teams should fall, maybe trade back, get some extra picks, and then trade back in to the first round to take a Mond, Mills, one of these second tier QBs who really should be picked in either the second, the third, or the fourth rounds, but you move up just to get that fifth year option in case they happen to be, a good player. What do you think? What do you
Developing.
think about that? Would you spend that kind of draft stock just to get that extra year in case they turn into a player who maybe is like a Dak Prescott who is a very good football player and a very good QB? Now you have that actual fifth year option that you can exercise before having to extend them.
I think that makes a lot of sense. It makes good fiscal responsibility sense, but that's not how I think. I will always be very simplistic in these picks, quarterback or otherwise, first round or fifth round. You have to select the guy that you love and let all of that other contractual stuff, value, all that stuff. I don't get into all of that. I know they do, and I know it's important, but
It's their
I don't.
job, so
I
it's a
just
little
want,
bit. Yeah, they can
yeah,
focus a
that
lot more on it.
it's like when they talk about the salary cap. Okay, I don't care what guys make. I don't
I
care
think
how
this
it
year has
fits
proven to
into the
everybody
salary
the
cap.
salary cap it means
Means
nothing.
nothing. Right. You can work your way around it. All the teams have figured it out how they can work around salary caps. You can be right up against the salary cap and sign a guy for $400
This
million. I don't know how that works, but
this
they do it.
voidable year thing, I really want to see if this continues. If people are just like, yeah, we signed this guy, but then like there's like 3 voidable years, so that way, hey, we got him, but if we don't want to pay this money, it's just voidable. It's very
It's dumb.
interesting. It's
Yeah.
it's a silly situation to be in. I don't know that it's worth it, in my opinion, to trade up for that extra 5th year. Not for a guy who, if you give him a second round grade, if it's an early second round grade, then I can see it, right? They did it with Montez Sweat. I thought that was a great move up, and
Right.
obviously he's coming into his own for Washington. I just don't know that I would do that for somebody who's a late second round pick or a third round pick. I would just wait like that extra year. Yes, if it pans out, great. But if it doesn't pan out, you just have given up some draft capital that could be, somebody who can actually help the team. So I don't know that it's worth it to me to move up into the late first just to get that extra year. If they really love the guy, like you're saying, then fine. I just don't see how they really love a guy who's in the late second or third round that much to move up there. I think that they can.
Well, who decides that Kellen Mond is a third rounder? He's third. His value is as a third rounder. Who decides
Well,
that?
there's a couple different
The,
answers to that, right? So first is if you're looking at a team perspective, they have their own draft board, so they will
right.
decide whether or not,
Everyone's different.
whether or not he's a, some people said that Haskins they had him on their board as a third rounder, right? The thing is
Right.
there's also
Right.
this other aspect that the players listen to when they're deciding whether or not they're going to go into the draft is they have an advisor who will say, yeah, we think that you're like a first grade, first round talent. You can expect to go in the second or third round talent. There's a bunch of talent evaluators that decide where a person should go. Now, what
Right.
matters though is that team draft board. Where does the team
Exactly.
have them? And that's what I'm saying is I think that if the team has Kellen Mond as a late second or a third round pick, I don't know that it's worth it to go up to the first round to grab him just for that extra year.
Right. For sure. I agree. 100%. If they're second round value graded, whatever the proper term is, then that's when they should draft him. And if they don't get him in the second round, then they failed to properly draft. If they really wanted him, then they would have done whatever they had to do to get up in front of the team that actually took him. So that was your inability to draft the right guy. So yeah, I don't believe in that either. I 100% agree with you.
Well, it'll be interesting to see who they take.
Oh, I can't wait for the
It's
draft.
it's coming up pretty closely, and I'm excited to talk about our very first round Ref the District mock draft. We brought in some help for this. We brought in people from other teams and our friend groups to take these selections. We will have this draft the Sunday before. It's the 25th of April. Pretty excited about this, Stoner.
I am too, man. We got a lot of people coming in to help us out with this. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be our best show ever. And yeah, I'm really excited to see who they're drafting and how they're drafting and the reason behind their draft and getting a lot of different people involved. So yeah, so that Sunday, the 25th of April, which is the Sunday before the draft. And yeah, we're going to have our very own first annual Ref the District mock draft.
Our
Yeah, I'm looking
inaugural,
forward to
because
that.
first
Inaugural.
annual is a no go in our
Yeah.
broadcast world, but
Oh yeah, yeah. Inaugural.
inaugural, our first round mock draft, pretty exciting. There are multiple rounds though. We won't be going past the first with our group, but I do want to talk with Stoner about those late round QB options another time. We're not going to do that today.
Ah, okay.
The
All
QB is
right.
an important position. It's imperative that they get that Washington gets that settled. Now they've made some acquisitions this offseason that have made the QB
Mm-hmm.
job a little bit easier. I'm talking about Curtis Samuel in particular. I think that he's going to pan out very well, but there's somebody who disagrees with me, apparently, Stoner.
Yeah. Yeah. So earlier this week, Brian Manning from Bleacher Report,
Okay.
okay, he put out there. Well, what he did is maybe it's I don't know if he did this for every team, but Bleacher Report did it for every team. Maybe he only decided what it was for Washington football team, or maybe he did the whole deal. But everyone's talking about how their offseason acquisitions went, their free agent signings. Everyone's talking about how it's going to help their team and all the good part of it. So somebody has to obviously do the opposite so they can get more clicks. So that's what they did
Is
here.
Brian
And
is our Brian our today's mayor of Yabbitville?
no, I don't think so. I don't think that quite
Okay.
qualifies for Yabbitville because he's not going against somebody who had a great performance. He's just somebody who's looks at, oh, we have all this love and everything good. I've got to show something bad so that I can stand out. I don't know Brian Manning. I read a ton of articles and I don't know Brian Manning. So that might tell you a little something about Brian Manning of Bleacher Report. Okay, so he came out and sorry, Brian
Jeez
Manning, but you're
Louise.
not doing yourself any favor. I'm clubbing it. I am because of this hot take that he
All
put
right.
out
What's
there.
the hot take?
I clubbed
What's the hot
Stephen
take?
A. I clubbed Stephen A. last week.
Okay.
This week, Brian
Poor
Manning
Brian Manning. Like he
gets
just
clubbed.
it's like I don't even know
Who's
who
Brian
he is.
Manning?
This guy's being
Exactly.
paid a
Yeah.
lot of money for this opinion, and you're just like
Is he?
I imagine he's being paid more than the two of us.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. So he put out that Washington football team's worst free agent signing this offseason is Curtis Samuel. And if you ask anybody, especially people within the Washington, not the organization, but like people like us, people who follow Washington
Pro
sports,
Football Focus.
they say that's their best
okay.
sign. Yeah, everybody says that was their best signing. But here's his reason. So when Curtis Samuel, his first year in Carolina, he was under the Ron Rivera regime in Carolina. And he had a so-so year, right? He had a pretty good year, but he was a rookie. He was a running back in college. They converted him to receiver. And so he had a so-so statistical year. The last 2 years without Ron Rivera's system, half of 1 year was with it, but anyway, the point is, especially last year, he flourished in a non-Ron Rivera system, in a Joe Brady, Matt Rule system, and he exploded. And so by coming here to Washington, he's going to be going back into the Ron Rivera system, and therefore he's probably going to revert back to what he was his rookie year. And that was his rationale. But I don't understand how you can say that when he fits every hole, he plugs every hole that this team had in that position. Speed, quickness, versatility, all of that stuff. Somebody opposite McLaurin to take away that pressure, to let him flourish. I don't know what there is to not like about it.
So my biggest disagreement here, like you said it right. Like his first year was kind of a wash with Rivera because this was a running back turned wide receiver. Wide receivers in the NFL typically take 2 or 3 years to develop into their own. His third year was a breakout year, and it's not like they're paying him, a lot of money either. So
Right.
they didn't break the bank for him. They paid him, what anybody else would pay him. But he comes to a good spot where in Scott Turner's offense, because Scott Turner wasn't running that first year that Curtis Samuel was. because Scott Turner didn't become an offensive coordinator until coming to Washington. He's called some plays, he's done some other things within the offense, but he didn't become an offensive coordinator until coming to Washington. So I don't think you can even say that first year, you're talking about a rookie. You're talking about a rookie who was converted from a running back to a wide receiver. You're talking about wide receivers in the NFL, anyways, who take typically 3 years. That third year, if the wide receiver doesn't get it by then you can just move on because they're probably not going to get it type deal. And then you're talking about a new offensive coordinator. So I definitely disagree with Brian here. I think if you wanted to pick on a wide receiver, you pick on the one that I like to pick on, which is Humphreys. I think that's the one that you can be like, as far as free agent signings, so
right. But he was under the radar, $1 million or whatever. So you can't really, if they cut him,
it's not that big
it's
of a deal,
nothing lost, which they're not going to.
He will not be a healthy scratch, according to Stoner.
Right. No. He's good. He's a good player.
You never know.
But also, I think what we saw last year with Scott Turner, the first we've ever seen him, and the first time, like you said, that he's ever been an OC, he was very creative, especially midway through the year when their offense was playing much better. He was very creative when he had McKissick and Gibson in the backfield at the same time, and he was these guys going this way and that way, and you never knew who had the ball. That was great. I thought he did a very good job. And then you had a lot of injuries, of course, with the quarterback fiasco that you had. But when Gibson went down for a couple of games, then you had a situation where other guys are just having to carry the load, and they couldn't do things to mess with the defense. So I think we have to give Scott Turner a little leeway, a little rope to be able to put Curtis Samuel in a position to help this offense, wherever that may be, sometimes in the slot, sometimes outside, whatever it is, to help him succeed, which will help the offense succeed.
All right, well.
So Brian Manning, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you do, stop with the clickbait already.
Well, it worked for you. You clicked. We talked about it here on Ref the District. We disagree with it. Like, we think Curtis Samuel's going to pan out, really well for Washington. Who knows? That's the future. We can't really predict the future, but we can say that we are a little thankful that Washington is not currently wrapped into the biggest NFL scandal currently going on.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this before we came on, whether or not we wanted to bring this up, the Deshaun Watson situation, because it is a little bit controversial or a little bit edgy. We're not edgy.
Yeah, we're not going to do the clickbait thing.
Yeah, we don't do the clickbait thing, but I think it needs to be talked about that I advocated early on in the offseason, give away every single draft pick, every single player to get Deshaun Watson on your team, because he had everything you looked for on the field and he had everything you looked for off the field. And now, as it turns out, he allegedly does not have everything that you're looking for off the field. If you have one or two or a few people accuse you of a crime, that's one thing that you can debate and say maybe they're just making it up. When you have 20 plus people accusing you of a crime, that's not debatable. Something is going on there, and I'm so thankful that Washington did not listen to me and trade their entire franchise for Deshaun as a quarterback, because I don't know at this point, once the season starts getting closer and this starts getting to be a bigger story, because the NFL will then be back in the spotlight and Deshaun will be back in camp and all that, I think it's really going to blow up. And I don't think Deshaun Watson is going to play quarterback for Houston this year.
It'll be interesting to see whether or not he plays QB for any team in the NFL.
For any
like you said, he is innocent until proven guilty. But I will not disparage or say that what these 22 women have come forth to call them saying that they're falsely accusing him.
That's too many. That's too many.
Even
to me.
one's too many, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, as far as whether you believe
Yeah.
them.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. It's like I'm not gonna tell a single one of them. I don't care if there's 1 or 22. I'm not gonna say that what they're doing is falsely accusing. I'm gonna let the court of law play out in that.
Sure.
I'm also not gonna say that Deshaun Watson's guilty of it, because it could be these 22 are not. It's not accurate what happened. I don't know the situation, but I'm not gonna tell these ladies what they experienced was wrong or false. I'm not going to say that they're falsely accusing.
Yeah, it's not
for us to say.
Right.
I'm interested to see how the whole thing pans out. I think that the lawyers in this are. I have a lawyer friend. My best buddy is actually a lawyer. I've got a couple other lawyer friends. I don't think that lawyers are natively skeezy or anything like that. I don't necessarily trust either of the lawyers that are involved in this situation. I think that there's some just things that are going on. You got Busby, who keeps saying he's going to do something and then he doesn't do it, and then just kind of goes back and forth. He's the lawyer for the 22 ladies, and then you got the Watson lawyer, who just came out and essentially was just like, diminish. Obviously, it's his job to protect his client. And so you expect him to kind of dismiss what the ladies are bringing forth, but it's kind of the way he did it was just like, come on, man, you got to be better than that. You got to raise above it. So it'll be interesting to follow that. Like I said, it's definitely going to be a big topic, and I do agree. I'm glad Washington didn't go. I'm glad they didn't even dip their toe in there, let alone go all in.
Right.
If you gave up 3 draft picks, or the 3 first rounders for him, you're sitting on something that, again, I don't know that he's ever going to play again.
Right. And maybe we give credit to Washington or these other teams. Maybe they did their due diligence and knew that something like this was about to break, and that's why they didn't go for it. And maybe all these other teams the same thing. But man, that Houston Texans franchise is cursed at this point. They went from being one of the top dogs or getting ready to get over that hump to be a top dog. They won 12 games like a couple years ago.
When you have a player of Deshaun Watson's caliber, you're going to win games like that.
You had Deshaun Watson, and
Watt,
you had DeAndre Hopkins, and you had pretty much a stacked team, and we're rising. And now you've got none of that. And you've got a new coach and a new GM, I think. And I think it's a new GM this year. Maybe it was last year. It's a whole new
staff.
And they're going to go.
We should probably be thanking Houston, because they, from the very start, like, no, he's our QB. We're keeping him. So, really, it's probably just, it might not be that the teams like Washington and others did their due diligence. It might just be that Houston stiff-armed enough teams that all of a sudden, then these allegations came out, and it's just like, now Houston's like, man, I guess we should have traded him. You don't know.
Well, now you can't even get a bag of potatoes.
His trade value is absolutely tanked. It'll be an interesting case to follow. I don't know that we're actually going to discuss it any further here for Ref the District. We're just saying that we're thankful that it is not our franchise that typically has.
Can you imagine?
It's typically Washington that has this kind of crazy stuff happen. Right. And to be fair, they still do, right? Like, you got the report that's still out there. Dan Snyder has bought up the whole team. No one likes Dan Snyder, and so a lot of the fan base is upset. So Washington still has its problems. We're just thankful that we don't have this added on top of it, because there's already enough issues within the organization, or that the organization within the last under Dan Snyder's ownership has had when it's come to the relationships with women. So thankfully, this is not going to be one of them.
Could you imagine if they had traded, like, let's say Sweat and 3 future first round picks for Deshaun Watson, and then all this stuff came out with everything?
I don't think I'd be able to talk about Washington sports with you. I honestly,
we would have canceled our show.
It's done.
Some people probably been happy. Oh, they canceled the show. Thank goodness.
Well, we hope that you are happy that we're still here.
Yeah, we're
So
still
I
here.
want to transition us into the good, the bad, the ugly. And if you are happy to have us here and you would like to sponsor this segment, the good, the bad, the ugly, I'll happily do up all the graphics and make sure that you shine. Just let us know. You can always add us on Twitter at refthedistrict or emails refthedistrict@gmail.com. You can hit us up, myself, the Stone Dog, on Twitter as well. You'll see us interacting with the page. You can find us there.
Did you know we actually had somebody contact us about a possible sponsorship? Ooh. Yes, but we could not agree to terms for the sponsorship, so we had to move on. But it's out there; it's starting to happen. So you better get in early. Get in on the ground floor so you get the best rates.
We can be bought, and we're pretty cheap.
So easy. I mean, I'll tattoo something across my forehead for the right amount of money.
We'll get some peel offs. I'll get a peel off sticker. I can't have a tattoo across my face. So I'll get a peel off sticker, and every Sunday I'll wear it, and then I'll take it off for the work.
Yeah, that's right. There you go. Your company name right here. Certain amount of money. How much would you do that for? Let's just say you could.
If a tattoo, I wouldn't do an actual tattoo across my face. I'm not that cheap.
$500,000.
Not across my face.
Really? You can't be bought there with the tattoo?
Dude, I'm a theater guy. This is the money maker here. All right. I know I have a great voice for doing the show and everything, but this is what I got a clean cut. You know, I trimmed this up a little bit. I can't do that. I would do, and this is serious now. If you have a company that you want to do for $5 a show, I will you have to send me the sticker for it, but I will wear a sticker across my head for the duration of the show for $5 a show.
Did you hear that?
So if you want to do that, that's fine. That's fine.
What's your Venmo? I'll Venmo you.
Again, you have to buy the sticker and ship them to me.
Okay, I gotta do that.
So there's a little extra cost involved in that, but for $5 a show, I will wear it. I would prefer that we work out a different agreement where we have your graphic and stuff. But if you want to do that, we'll set up a little contract and whatnot, and I'll do that. $20 gets you 4 shows. There we go. I'll wear the sticker across the thing. Don't put any craziness in your adhesive, please. Again, moneymaker. All right.
Right. But I just offered you $500,000. That's money
for a tattoo, something that's permanent.
Yes. But you said that's your moneymaker. Yeah. I'm gonna help you make money. I'm gonna give you $500,000 across the forehead.
I would oh man, what would be my cost for a tattoo?
Yeah, what's your
I'm hesitant putting this out here because there's gonna be somebody's gonna pick it up and be like, all right, I got $1 million to waste. I'm just here, tattoo penis on your forehead. Like
the actual name or like the actual drawing of one?
It doesn't matter. I wouldn't do it for any cost.
Okay.
Again, still currently active duty. Can't have it across my face anyways.
Okay, yeah.
So not something we talk about too often, but in case you didn't know, a couple Air Force veterans here. So if you hear me talking about our broadcast training, we in fact do have broadcast training. Sometimes we don't really do a good job and we don't put it to a test, but don't blame that on our military background. Blame that on us.
I will say this though, I do not have broadcast training.
Ooh.
I was not trained. I was in the group when they decided to combine 2 different career fields, and they just said, okay, today you're a broadcaster. And I was like, you're going to train me or what? Nope, you're just going to have to figure it out yourself. I was a behind the camera guy, and all of a sudden they said, today you're going to be in front of the camera. So I'm not actually trained other than on the job training. But I did have some incredible co-workers that helped on the job train me. So that certainly helped. And one of them that I give a ton of credit for is going to have a draft pick in our inaugural Ref the District first round mock draft coming up April 25th.
Awesome. Looking forward to that. And we'll have to see I don't know if we have a picture of the 2 of us in uniform. I was thinking about this the other day. Together? I don't know that we have one of us together in uniform, but if we do, we'll find that.
Where have we gone?
We did travel together. You were the boss man who got to sit in your office playing darts. Like,
Hey, kind of keep that to a dull
you're
roar.
retired now.
There was a little bit of.
What does that matter?
That's true.
You had half the office in there
Yes,
playing with you too, so we
but
closed the
that's
door,
right.
spend an afternoon.
But I did travel a lot. I
I
traveled
know
with
you
a
would take
lot
the
of.
really good ones.
I always stole the good
Yeah,
trips. That's true.
end up with one of our buddies down in South Africa.
Yep, South Africa. Some of the trips just from that assignment: South Africa, Georgia, the country. What are some other good ones like Romania, Bulgaria?
Our
Awesome.
job in Ramstein, Germany was great. Getting to travel.
Yeah,
My
it
wife
was.
has not finished stabbing me in the back, by the way. Jazzy
Oh,
is
what'd she
now
get you
saying
on this
that
one?
she'll take the $500,000 and that we can always just remove the tattoo later.
Okay,
Then Jazzy, I think, is giving up her forehead for
that's
five
what I'm
hundred
saying.
thousand
Have
dollars
her
because we can remove
have
it,
her
love.
sit
We
next
could
to you.
just remove it.
Yeah, have her sit next
Yeah,
to you
there we
with
go.
the tattoo across
She
it for
she actually
500
got
bucks.
on me because she is not included in our inaugural mock draft. Okay, so she got
Mm.
on me to tell me about how she's disappointed I didn't even ask her. So
Oh yeah.
she wants
Well,
to be a part of the show. She is kind of our marketer. She gets paid less than we do when it comes to the show.
why can't she take one of our picks?
I offered, and then she told me no. Apparently, it was too late.
Because
It
you
was
didn't
too late.
ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
any spouses out there, like if you're a married person, make sure you include your significant other. I did not. I will pay the
And now you're
price,
paying for
but
it.
I will
Yeah.
not have something tattooed across my forehead because I think that would be bad and ugly, and that's what we were trying
Yeah.
to transition to. We
Oh,
detoured
okay. Yeah, I
a
forgot about that.
huge way. I'm
Yeah.
watching our live viewers again. We broadcast this live every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern. I'm watching, and we actually did have a dip. We don't have that many live viewers, anyways. We had a dip. We started talking about nonsense, and people are like, they checked out. Let's get back to the sports.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
let's get back to sports. There was just one person, but it's
Well,
still.
still, one, when you only have like a little bit more than one,
It's a
when one
significant
drops
it's a
off,
significant
it's
drop
a
when that
significant
happens.
drop.
No,
Yeah.
let's get back to the sports. The good, the bad, the ugly. What do we got
Okay.
here, Stone? The Stoner.
All right. Well, first and I'll make this very short because I know we're running short of time here. But the good, and when it's always good, is the Caps. They continue to play very well. They haven't been as dominant as they were earlier in the year, but they continue to play well, sitting in first place or just out of first place. There's only like 15 games left until the playoffs start. So they're always going to be on the good, right? I mean, they're playing
I
again
know I
tonight. Have you
admonished
watched them
them, and
lately?
I said that I needed to see more from them, and then they didn't. They won
Yeah.
5-4. I wanted them to win 4-1, but they
Oh
just
yeah,
continue
right,
playing
right.
well, and they win. That's what you want. That's
Right.
really all that matters in the end. And then the playoffs. This is one of the things I love about NHL is you get to the playoffs and records are thrown out the door, and it's
Oh yeah.
just a new game. It's great.
Is that the cliche? The records get thrown out the door or do they get thrown out the window?
I've heard it both ways.
Okay. All right, fair enough. I'm just nitpicking there. All right. So the bad, which is again, the good is almost always going to be Caps, unless I come up with something different. The bad is always going to be the Wizards, and here we are
They
again with
had
the
two. They
Wizards.
had back-to-back wins. Beal came
Mhm.
back. Last night was not a good game. If you stayed up for
No, it
that,
was
I
not.
apologize to you. I checked out after 44 points were given up in the third quarter. Again,
Yeah.
my wife was calling me through our video device over here. I was just like, it's time to go to bed. All right.
What's the name of your video device?
If they decide to pay us, I would
Right,
happily
right.
mention that on air.
Okay. I did basically the same thing. Now, I didn't stay up for it. I stayed up for about the first quarter, and then of course I DVR all the games anyway, and then got up this morning and it was 57-55 at halftime.
Yeah,
I thought, okay,
halftime.
we
It
have a
looked
nice
good.
second half, and I think the first three possessions were turnovers, two by Westbrook, and then it just got way out of hand. And about halfway through the third, I said, I'm not watching this. I know where this is going. And then I Googled the score and saw they lost by
It was bad.
28 when they were
It was
down
bad.
two at halftime, and they lost by 28. And I said, whoa, that was just one of those games.
Westbrook
I mean,
had
Phoenix
another
is a great
triple-double.
team.
Yeah. Yeah,
Did he
got
really?
another triple
Did he
double.
get there? Yeah.
The Wiz, we'll see. What you wanted them to go how far in their stretch here in the 16 games? You were like you had 10 and 6. Where there's what still sitting on needing 9 at this point. 8. They're on.
They're 2-4, so they have the 10 games left, and I think that maybe they're 2-5. And they have to go. I think they have to go 8-1 in their last 9 to meet
probably
that
not going to happen.
Now again, they play a lot of not great teams. Their next game's Utah. That's a tough one. But then they've got New Orleans, who's fairly good, but they're 9th, 10th, 11th place, something like that. And then they've got the Clevelands and Detroits and Golden State again. They've got not so great teams. I know you like to say, well, the Wiz aren't great either.
Not a good team.
Well, that's true. But
still, they are actually that far removed from a playoff spot at this point, which is still crazy to think about. I think last time I checked, there were 3 games removed. That could easily be erased. We'll see. I think Westbrook continues to try, to do what he can to win games. It would be nice to have Beal back. Bertans was out. I will formally. I know the ugly is not Bertans, but I will formally. Submit the apology here on Ref the District to Bertans, not to Stoner, but to Bertans, that he is a much better 3-point shooter than I was giving him credit for, and he is he's not quite the level he was when he got paid, but he's still very more than serviceable. He's very good. I just want some consistency. Rui is coming together for the Wiz to be that consistent third option, but they just don't really have anybody else.
Well, and Beal's hurt. That's why he didn't play last night, and he hasn't been playing well the last few games because he's hurt. He's got a hip. He's got his back. He's just kind of beat up.
That's bad in itself, but I do want to say it was more than good. His 4-point play at the end of the Golden State Warriors game. That was amazing. Absolutely wonderful. I've watched it probably 36 times just because it's just great. He normally does the crime scene Beal thing. No, he popped back up and the Wiz ended up winning that one. So that was a lot of fun.
And he had 6 turnovers and Westbrook had 6 turnovers in that game. They were lucky to win that game. Just that 4-point play is what did it. And then 2 free throws and lucky Steph missed at the end there. All right, you ready for the ugly?
The ugly. What freezing cold take of mine do we get to call out today?
Okay. This is a tweet. Now again, this is from I had this ready, and look at my notes here. This was ready for episode 8. So this is a good 3 weeks ago when I had this ready, but we never got to it. A tweet from Jason Lockenfora. Do you know where I'm going with it yet?
No, not yet. I'm actually. Okay. I want to pull up our YouTube channel here, and I want to see what in the world did we talk about in episode 8.
Well, we didn't talk about this in episode 8. That's what I'm saying. It was in my notes to talk about, but we never got to it. Because this is the ugly. Jason Lockenfora, in his tweet, at some point in his tweets, a long tweet, he said, Seinfeld is the most overrated show in the history of television. Homogeneous, lame, tepid at best. And a reply to Jason Lockenfora's tweet is from @the Perry that says,
at me if you want it.
He's right.
He's not wrong.
He said he's right. Are you insane?
So here's my thing. When we talk about somebody who's overrated or underrated, please understand, or even just something in this case, because it's not a someone, but when I talk about a player or something is overrated or underrated, just know I'm not saying that they're good or bad. That's not what those terms mean. It means that it is not as good as people make it out to be.
I understand what overrated
but
means.
People always seem to attack me for this because they're like, "What? You're crazy. These people. That's the greatest show on television." That's what I'm talking about right there. Overrated. It is not the greatest show on television of all time. It was a good show. It could be considered in a pantheon of the great shows. I personally didn't really get into it. There's a few episodes that I really enjoyed, but overall, it's not something I'm still watching today. I know some people love it. I know some people will like watch it on reruns. Fine, more power to you. But it is by far, it honestly, and this is real. At me, the Nathan Perry on Twitter. Go ahead, because this is going to be another one that people
hit the record
button. This is people are going to be upset
so
about this. The Office is another overrated show. I really enjoyed the clips I've seen of it. I don't think I've watched a full episode. I've only watched like the series of clips that people share. It's hilarious. It's great. I think I didn't actually watch full episodes because there's just too much dead time. Like the jokes pan out really well, but then like there's just a lot of stuff within the show that's just like, I don't really care for it. Okay, so The Office is another one that I just feel is like it's just overrated. It's great. It's a good show. Seinfeld obviously had its fans. I will take Seinfeld over Friends, and I know that's going to be a whole nother issue with some people.
No, you're right about that.
A lot of people love to hate on Friends, but you want to know something? The Friends have a lot of diehard followers and people who love that show.
Sure.
Fine. Great. I know I have had to watch too many seasons with my brother because he loves that show. It's just not for me. To be fair, I'm not much of a TV guy anyways, okay? So if anyone wants to dog my show, my favorite show probably of all time right now is Psych. Okay? I love that show. I just think it's fun. Wow. I love the dynamic that the characters have. Fine. Okay, if you don't like it, okay. I'm not saying it's the greatest show.
Right.
I'm just saying it's my favorite show, and I'm saying Seinfeld is overrated. You can call me out. You can at me. At the Nathan Perry. I want to hear why you think Seinfeld is the greatest show. And you know what? I'll tell you, great. I'm glad you enjoy it. Still overrated.
So, well, first of all, you got to even say the name right. It's Seinfeld, not Seinfeld. There's no I after the F there. It's Seinfeld.
This is the face of someone who doesn't care.
I don't care.
I don't care. Seinfeld. My bad. Apologies to Jerry and all the fans. Seinfeld, not my show. I don't care if you love it. I mean, it's great that you enjoy it. I like people to enjoy things. I'm not dogging on it. I'm just saying it's overrated.
See, what the difference between Seinfeld and all these other shows is that Seinfeld didn't try to kneel down to the level that a lot of these other shows do, which is somebody's got to have a baby, somebody's got to get married within the show, all this other. They didn't do any of that stuff. They didn't tackle modern day problems. You never had a serious topic.
It was a show about nothing
discussed. It was just a show that was funny from beginning to end, brilliant writing, great acting, because with Jerry, he's not an actor, and you could always see him just on the brink of cracking up at his own jokes. Just a brilliant show. I can't believe you say it's overrated. I blocked Jason Monaco because of this, and I'm on the verge of blocking you as well.
Again, I'm not saying it's a bad show. I'm just saying it's overrated. Yeah. And you're proving my point. You're proving my point. You're just like the greatest show and all this other stuff. Fine.
Yeah.
Enjoy the show, Stoner. That's all I can tell you is please continue to enjoy the show. Know that my opinion doesn't change the fact that you like the show. Just know that when I say something's overrated or underrated, I'm just saying that it's probably not as good as you think it is, or it's not as bad as you think it is. So, and I can be wrong too. I was wrong on Bertans, and I know people, I have again a live comment telling me to hush my mouth when it comes to The Office. I know there's a lot of diehard Office fans. Again, I enjoy the clips that I've seen more so than Seinfeld.
There you go. Good. I'm not an Office guy either, but I respect that a lot of people really love it, and there are a lot of great fans. But I'm not one of them. But
same with Friends.
I won't hate on.
I don't care
people.
if you like Friends. Like Friends.
But you said it's overrated.
All three of those shows are overrated. I would say Psych is probably underrated, but there's a bunch of people, the psychos, the psych community that loves the show so much that they, it's a good show. I would never actually say that Psych is the best show in all of television.
Right. Right.
it has its flaws, but it's a fun show that I enjoy watching. So,
Yeah.
but maybe I should just stick to watching sports and talking sports, which is what we do every Sunday here on Ref the District. So, this has been episode 11. Hope that you've enjoyed it. If you've enjoyed it, please subscribe to our page, like us out, and follow us out on Twitter. Keep informed on what's happening here in the district, sports related. I'm Nathan Perry. He's the Stoner. Thank you for your time.